it's been a real pleasure to work with you and your group. I think you've pushed us into new areas, and I'm sure Josue can, if you want to comment on some of those things that Ken has really pushed us to do that personally as a plant person, I didn't think we would be able to do. So you really expanded our comfort boundaries too, in a good way, into being more. We have a little more confidence in ourselves, I think, in suggesting some the row box, the phenotyping for fish eggs. I would never have thought that was going to work as a plant person, but we had a group that was interested in testing it, and we had the right skill set on our side, and we just kind of organically built that together. So those are some of my most proud moments of where I've been proven wrong. I thought this wasn't going to work, and there it is. It's working great. Like this has been really good to work with you because you have pushed us into new places.
Yep. I think, a great example is so initially we only had one phenotyping project, which was Robux.
Yeah.
And then literally in an hour long conversation on Zoom can, hey, I want to image adult fish. Okay, I don't know if we can do it right now, kind of out of the blue. And this is a great example of a breeder that is invested in their program, right? Nope, I have an idea. I want to do this in the specific location at a specific time. Okay. He gave me the initial crumbles to work with, but he was also doing his research on the back, right? We went to literature, found a paper that did something similar. Hey, Ken, what do you think about this? Perfect. He bought the equipment. We got that project done in a month and a half, maybe.
Yeah.
Yes, and going back to the back and forth communication, in those first 3 weeks, we went to three different iterations how to do it.
Hmm.
Until then, we have a model that seems very promising and is working well. So I think that's the best example I have. It's an idea pops up. Tell me your goal, right? Maybe we don't have to have everything figured out initially. Just tell me where you're starting and where you want to be, and then
Hmm.
we'll figure it out. But then also act on it, right? He asked something from us. He acted on our suggestions immediately, and we got a project running in record time. I think a month and a half for an imaging project was amazing.
Well,
I agree.
I mean, and it was really great on that same project because so we took that and we took the initial images or whatever else. And I mean, weekly, basically BI would analyze those and they go, no, this would be better. And we made slight changes weekly on that,
Mhm.
making it better because that was how quick the turnaround was with the interaction and the evaluation of the images that we would produce.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that was critical to not only keeping the project going, but you're doing this in real time in a real breeding program. There, this stuff happens when it happens. You can't really just decide, oh, we'll just do it another time. No, the fish are ready now. They have to be evaluated right now. This is the time to do it. And having that responsive and that trust between the coordinator, Josue, and you meant that you knew that if you told Josue that something needed a tweak, that it would get done. And I think that also means that whatever risk you are doing by pulling these fish out of the environment and handling them is worth it because you're going to get something on the back end.
Yeah.
Plus,
And again,
go ahead, Ken. Sorry.
no, I mean, it's not so even so much as us telling Josue what the tweak was, but them the feedback from them on tweaking how we took the images or set the fish up and the rest of that to make them better, to incorporate those into the next week, and then they were evaluated, and we would get feedback, and it was just that quick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is probably the ideal project way to do a project is to just have that one-on-one weekly iterative process happening, with an active group.
And I
Josue, did
think,
you want to comment?
yeah, absolutely. I think that, it's also, we have to understand this is breeding, right? And depending on the species, they're seasonal. So we have to
Hmm.
wait another year to even try this again, right? So it's also, gotta bite the bullet sometimes. Luckily, we have the relationship where we can manage the risk. And hey, if it failed, it failed, but we can will know that we didn't leave anything on the table, right? We went for it and
Right.
we tried. And the other thing is listening to Ken's suggestions on not only the imaging structure or how we call it machine itself, also the process for his crew, right? It's not as simple as take pictures.
That's
So
right.
hey, can we tweak this process to make it more efficient? Sure, let me think, right? And this is more on Ken's side, but it's not just hey BI do everything, right? It's hey, how can we improve on each other end? Ken modified his crew setup and whatnot to make it fit his process, right? So it
Right.
goes
Exactly. So it's not enough just to have the technology. It needs to fit into the workflow that already exists or requires only minor modifications so that you're not expending more human labor time to get the more data, more valuable data.
I mean, even more than that. I mean, basically, when you have to establish that flow, and you don't want to make it too arduous, because if you're the breeder and you're always there when they're doing it or whatever else, you can make sure that they're doing it right or whatever else. But if you make it so complicated and whatever else, and you just leave it, the people out there and the crews, they change annually a little bit, and whatever else, it will modify how that trade is being measured or whatever else. And then you'll go back in 2 years and you're like, what are you doing? This isn't what we set up at all. And, you know, this is something we really look at because there's a number of traits where, I work with other people and they're interested in these traits, but they're really hard to measure. All right.
Mhm.
And they go ahead and they do it, but how much information are you really getting? If you're only taking
Yep.
a few fish from a few families, is that really good information or not? You need to be able to put into a flow if you're going to utilize it such that you can get good information that's going to be applicable from a large number of fish. So when you apply it, it actually means something. So I mean, you can't make it too complicated. You want to get what you get the most you can, but you need to make it fit, or it's not worth it. Really.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, it's not worth it. It's any, if you're getting just a few samples, it's not statistically significant. Um, it might be done different each time. You really do want it to be part of a workflow like A, B, C, and then fish goes back in the tank, or whatever the process is. You want it to be not stressful for the animal, not stressful for your team, and still get you high quality data.
Right. And again, what you're saying again, because really, I don't want to make it stressful for the team because if you're not there and it is, they're not going to do it that way. They're not. And again,
Exactly.
plus we are working with an animal that lives in the water where we're taking measurements typically out of the water. We have to make this, the least amount of stress and as quick as possible if we're going to do
Exactly.
that too.
and
Yeah.
that goes back to another point that yeah maybe our main point of contact is the breeder, but there's a whole team behind them, right? And we need to
Mm,
work around that team as well simultaneously, right? It's a one-to-many relationship, let's put it that way, right? I remember for the imaging projects, one thing we did is we went one day when they were taking the measurements. It was very easy for the BI team to jump in and help them, but
yeah.
we had to figure out we won't be there every week, right? So what did we do? We step back, take a look at how it's working, and work from there and find suggestions. Hey, maybe move this person here or move that person there, right? But really focus not only on the imaging and the phenotyping, but on the whole process, as you mentioned before.
Yeah.
And that's a good point because, like how Sway is saying, picking eggs and IDing eggs, I may be the breeder, but I'm not the one out there doing that. I've got a
Yeah.
team out there that picks eggs, and they work directly with that team in helping to set up, annotate those images and set that up for quantifying those and taking that so it actually fits what the people that do this, is expect.
Yeah.
So
And this
listen,
is this. Go ahead, Josue.
so I said also listening to them, right? Have a meeting not only with Ken, but with the team. And hey, do you guys think this is working? Is it
Yeah.
too painful
Right.
to is it too time consuming? Yes, it is. Okay. And I'll give you an example. For the raw box, we're gonna have specific settings for eggs and for fries. For fry, we talk to them. Hey, is this feasible? Yes, it is, but we might confuse the settings or not. Okay, let's compromise, right? We're gonna take picture of both, keep just one setting that works for both of them. So it's listening to
Mhm.
the feedback of the breeder and the team as a whole.
Yeah. And I think there's got to be coming back to this respect idea again, is that we're asking anytime you add a technology, you're adding more work on top of what someone already has to do. You're also making them kind of take a risk on something that may or may not stick around. And if you don't feel comfortable giving honest feedback to someone, you're going to be you'll be less likely to want to work with them in the future. And technology adoption is time consuming and expensive. It either labor or your attention. You can measure that cost in many different ways, but it is not a Cinderella, slipper fit every single time. And it always causes a disruption. And being cognizant to that disruption that it's going to happen, but also trying to minimize that, I think that's where you find that success is that you've you're not taxing somebody for a month on a project and then saying, well, that was a useless endeavor. You're really trying to break it down into very small tasks that aren't hugely labor expensive and then adjusting as you go, more like an agile way of building a solution rather than a holistic, we're going to throw something at you and just hope it works for you, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think we can start with the holistic approach, right? This is the initial proposal. And going back
Yeah,
to our relationship, be open, hear them, how it fits best for them, and then tweak around. If not, it's very hard to have a relationship that works, right? If it's just, hey, this is what I want to do, and you do it, or it's not going to work, guess what the answer is going to be? It's not going to work.
yeah, yeah. All right. Any final comments before we end our talk today? Ken?
Um, I mean, nothing specific. Again, I would say this has been positive. I mean, really positive. We have made substantial changes, and working with BI has allowed us to move in areas where we had wanted to go but had not been able to prior. So that's huge for us, and to streamline our post selection program and include traits that we had thought about before, but we didn't know how to get those in an accurate quantitative manner that would actually be applicable.
Right.
So, I look forward into this continuing and stressing them further in the future. Yeah.
Good.
So
No, we do like working with you. Josue, do you have any final comments?
yeah, first of all, looking forward for more stress. I'm always willing to grow more gray hairs because of Ken. But no, for any groups that are interested on working with us, I think this case with Ken is the perfect case study for a relationship with BI, where you have to be open to listen to us. We have to be open to, but like, we're not here to impose anything. My whole, like I told in the first meeting with Ken, my job is to make your life easier. So tell me how. It's about service. BI, it's about servicing the breeders, right? Um, and a very important thing is, yeah, we might be working on some, cool technology and hot topics, imaging and whatnot. Sometimes the very simple fixes, like the pedigree stuff, the boring things,
Oh,
are the most tenuous for the breeder. It takes a lot of time and are the ones that we're glad to take to start building something, right? So if you want to have this amazing idea, sure, let's hear it out. If you need help on the basic things, my answer is also sure, let's hear it out, right? We're here to build from A to Z. So just reach out and be open with communication.
yeah. And I mean, what you did, it was tenuous and a lot of work and whatever else, but it made it so much better and easier, and fully screenable. Because I work with people and they've invested tons of money into genomics and breeding and whatever else, but they don't have a screenable pedigree. I mean, most of them don't. So
Wow. Yeah.
that's was I'm very appreciative.
Yeah. Well, and that really is a that app that was built for the trout EBVs, that's something we can utilize with other groups too. We would make some changes and tweaks for it, but that gives back to the community in a bigger way that you won't you won't see for a couple of years, but it's there. We can see that this is going to give back to the community. So by working, Josue's work on the pedigree and you getting, being communicative about what you were looking for in that app, that's paying back dividends to people you haven't even collaborated yet, all
Well,
So
because you were willing to work with us on it.
again, even more so, I guess that brings it up is what we're doing now. I mean, we're establishing now what's best for us, where the state of the art of the industry and genetics in salmonids in general is. But what we have, I mean, works for us. It can work for others. And again, we've got a cost issue. We don't have a treasury behind us, so we can do full genomic selection on every fish and
Right.
all the rest of that. But as that becomes available, what we have in place can still move in that direction. And if it does become cost efficient and a better way to do it, we're prepared to move there. I mean, where we're at, we are where we want to be right now with the way we genotype and do the selection on that. In the future, as technology changes, it still also sets us up to move in that direction and get there. So it's twofold benefits.
Oh, that's
and
excellent.
I think you both brought a very good point. In life in general, if you have a question, someone already has it probably. No. And so what we develop here might be a fit for you already, and you don't even know it, so just reach out. We can, part of our role is to kind of provide those holistic fixes or holistic approaches that are able to be tweaked for a specific program, right? So Ken's tools, they're not just Ken's, right? We can, yeah, right now they're tailored for him. We can tailor for someone else as well. So there's no question that is not worth being asked to us, because we'll find a solution, or we might have it already.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big part of this, like, species agnosticism and, kind of trying to find the commonalities that a lot of breeding programs, have constraints and things that they would like to be doing that they're not able to do. How can we build out resources with BI that serves that wider community? And, it's connecting you all in a way that you probably wouldn't have connected without that middle person, because there's not a lot of, good reasons for a fish person to call the blueberry breeder, to ask them about technologies.
But
Right.
and I should have brought this up before, but what's really not great about BI, I mean, I've talked with other broodstock managers and breeders, whatever else, and they've thought plants are kind of the way we should evaluate, plant selection, the way we should evaluate fish, because fish are in between plants and terrestrial animals, in that we have a large number of offspring. All
Yes.
right, in that, like you generate lots of seeds on that you can evaluate for each cross, which is different than what you have for terrestrial animals, but you still want to manage it, as you do terrestrial animals in certain aspects also. So it's that cross between the two where it fits, in working with fish.
Yep. And I will be honest with you, the fact that when I came into this job, the thing that I was most excited about working on was the fish. I had no experience with it, and I was really excited to learn about, animal breeding, but specifically with fish, because I also saw, some commonalities, but I didn't have any experience. So that's really what kind of, was the hook for me to get into this program. I really was interested in seeing, how we could improve or, augment breeding programs for fish.
Right. And again,
But oh, go ahead, go ahead.
but anyway, real quick, the personal interaction, the people I've worked with have all been professional and specific good. They were chosen for the specific role and they were good at it. I haven't dealt with someone that I thought, well, yeah, they hired them, but there's better people out here for this that I could go to or whatever else. They've been able to provide in the area that they need to. We've got whole different. We've got the photography, the imaging, the machine learning, the genetics, the bioinformatics, the pipeline. There's been individual specific in each of those areas we've worked with, and it's been great.
Josue, did you have a comment?
Yeah, it's one last point, and it's very linked to what Ken just mentioned. And I think we haven't touched on that enough, is that, someone previously said that not one person knows everything, right? Well, surprise, surprise, it's the same case in BI, right? But we have experts in every single field. And so we can really leverage me as a project manager. I can really leverage that expertise and bring in that specific person and plug them in on a specific challenge
Right.
and really provide support that is not possible with only one person. I mean, or every program in the country has to hire a bioinformatician, an image analyst, a phenotyping expert, a breeding expert. That's not feasible, right? And we have the luxury of having that toolbox where I can just reach out and bring whoever we need.
And Josue has been really good about that because we have multiple meetings. We don't have an entire group. We have a specific area we're going to focus on, and Josue, sets it up, and we have those people there, and we focus on that problem. And then, at a different problem, we'll have a different group of people, and we'll focus on that one. So.
Right. So that being able to, you have a contact person, but you've got a whole team that supports that contact person behind them. So, it really allows you to, I think outside the box of like, well, wouldn't it be great if we could try this or try that? And Josue may be like, yeah, that's not in my wheelhouse, but it's in so-and-so's wheelhouse that sits just next to me. So let's bring them in. And I think that is a powerful model for kind of borrowing technologies and expertise when you need it and how you need it, not having to support that full time and not having to have a constant, 24, hours worth of work for them every time. You can just use them that skill set when you need it.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's no way our program could afford, have all those experts on staff or whatever else for what we would use. So having access to them has been invaluable in moving certain aspects of the program forward.
Excellent. Well, that's great. So I think we're pretty much at the end of our time. I wanted to thank you, Ken. You gave a great view of your breeding program before and also after working with BI and how this collaboration has impacted it. Josue, thanks for sharing your experiences as both Ken's, point of contact coordinator, but also how BI works to support Ken's program. All the things on the back end that maybe aren't as obvious to people. This has been really a fun conversation to have with you both today, and I really enjoyed spending some time with you. So thank you.
Same here. Thank you.
All right.